This week on This American Life, Bowen thinks a huge part of who he is can be traced back to a moment before he was even born, when his dad met this guy named Dave at the Oklahoma City airport. So, one day, Bowen calls Dave.
And I would just urge you that if you do write this, that's honoring to your mom and dad. You don't want the devil jumping on them.
The devil he knows, and the devil he doesn't. This week.
Every Monday at 8 and Saturday at 3 on Radio IQ.
Good morning, A.
Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Layla.
Good morning, Steve.
Spend your mornings with us on Morning Edition from NPR News every weekday.
You can hear Morning Edition beginning weekdays at 5 a.m. on Radio IQ.
Funding for Here and Now comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston, where the program is produced, and your NPR station. From MathWorks, creators of MATLAB and Simulink software for technical computing and model-based design. MathWorks, accelerating the pace of discovery in engineering and science. Learn more at mathworks.com. And the Music Emporium, guitar sellers for more than 50 years, celebrating the enduring presence of music made on the front porch and center stage. You can learn more at themusicemporium.com.
It's Here and Now. The Eiffel Tower of Miami. That was the idea for a development 10 years ago. It was supposed to become one of the tallest towers in the world. But a decade later, the site is still an abandoned waterfront lot. Danny Rivero of member station WLRN has been looking into why this prime piece of real estate is still empty.
The Skyrise Miami project was supposed to be built on a tiny sliver of publicly owned waterfront land in downtown Miami. The 2 acres are some of the most valuable real estate in town.
Skyrise Miami, a landmark project for a world-class city. Miami's Eiffel Tower.
In 2014, the developer promised the entertainment tower would be privately funded to the tune of more than $400 million. Restaurants, bars, bungee jumping. It would be over 1,000 feet tall and create thousands of jobs.
And for the adventurous, a rock climbing wall with amazing views, as well as a premium observation deck that will be breathtaking by day.
Millions of people would visit the site every year. Some described its design as a giant paperclip. Because the lot was city-owned, voters needed to approve the 99-year lease of the public land. And they did so, with 70% of the vote. A full decade later, there's no tower on the site, and the lot has become a wasteland. There's mounds of trash head high, giant piles of rubble. That's what I found on a recent visit.
Not for nothing, it does look like someone's actually been farming here. There's eggplant, there's some sea grapes planted, there's tomato plants with a bunch of tomatoes on them.
So how did this iconic project turn into a renegade community garden?
I thought that it was a good idea. I mean, every large city needs an emblematic thing.
Raquel Regalado is a Miami-Dade County commissioner. But back in 2014, she was an elected school board member. She lives in Miami and said she voted for it. But just a few months after voters approved the project, the developer went to the county government and asked for $9 million in taxpayer money. That's where they lost her.
When they went before the board and asked for bond money, I was shocked. I was like, well, wait a second. It specifically said on the ballot that no public money was going to be used. And the response to that from the administration of the county at that time and the commissioners were, well, but that was City of Miami money.
The county commission approved the funding, $9 million in tax dollars to support the tower project. So Regalado and a wealthy friend went to court.
We decided to sue, and sue we did. So that's how I sued my dad.
At the beginning, I said, are you kidding? But then when she was serious about it, I said, well, you know what? I'm on board.
Raquel's father is Tomas Regalado, who is the mayor of the city of Miami. Like his daughter, he supported the project at first, but turned against it once public funds were in play.
I thought that violating the trust of the people was the ultimate sin that a politician could make.
His daughter won the court battle. The developer withdrew the application for public dollars. It was the first major roadblock for the project. But developer Jeff Berkowitz said in 2016 that he would press on. For years, he struggled to put together enough private money to push the project forward. He applied for some permits, cleared the land, laid out some minor groundwork, but no real construction ever happened. He didn't want to talk to me about the Miami Eiffel Tower for this story. 3 years ago, Berkowitz announced that he was officially pulling the plug. What was once a city parking lot is now rough gravel. A large pond forms in the middle every time it rains. The former mayor says,
It's shameful that part of downtown Miami looks like that. To me, it's shameful.
a big promise for the Skyrise vote in 2014 was that it would benefit poor communities in Miami. The lease spelled out that every year the developer would pay $100,000 towards affordable housing and social programs in a poor black neighborhood, Liberty City. For a while, Berkowitz made those payments, but according to city records, the money stopped in 2019. The city said the money was only required after the tower was completed. Activist Grady Muhammad warned this could happen.
I spoke before the city commission and I made that issue plain that what they was promising, they was over-promising, and they was going to under-deliver to the community, and 10 years later, that's the actual fact.
Muhammad called on Miami to sue or do something to get the land back. The city referred any questions about the future of the site to Bayside Marketplace, the outdoor mall next to the lot. It now holds the lease. The company said in a statement that work will soon start to make cosmetic improvements to the Skyrise site, and that long-term plans are in the works to put a different project on this prime piece of real estate. For NPR News, I'm Danny Rivero in Miami.
And we're following the Supreme Court's ruling today granting a president absolute immunity from criminal prosecution when performing official acts. The case stems from the criminal allegations against Donald Trump for his actions on January 6th, 2021, while he was president. The ruling is complex, and you can hear careful analysis of the decision and reaction throughout the day and this afternoon on All Things Considered. That's live on your radio or your phone. Here and Now is a production of NPR and WBUR. I'm Celeste Headley in Washington, D.C.
And I'm Lisa Mullins in Boston. This is Here and Now. Funding for Here and Now comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston and your NPR station and Insurify.com. Today is Monday, July 1st. Insurify is an insurance comparison site that is proud to sponsor NPR. INSURIFY.
Hey, you remember when you went to work without a smartphone in your pocket?
The way we communicated with people in the field were radios, two-way, CB radios in the truck.
I'm Kai Rizdal, a new series about the analog age, next time on Marketplace.
Tune in for Marketplace weekdays at 6 on Radio IQ.
Hi, I'm Manoush Zamarodi, host of the TED Radio Hour from NPR, where we grapple with the biggest questions of our time, like what's our civic duty in the 21st century?
The greatest threat to our democracy is our blind faith in it. We have an assumption that it's just going to be there for us.
Join us every week for insights from the world's greatest thinkers on the TED Radio Hour from NPR.
Tuesday evenings at 8 and Saturday afternoons at 2 on Radio IQ.
Radio IQ is broadcasting in digital on WVTF Roanoke, WRIQ Charles City Richmond, WURV Richmond, WVTU Charlottesville, WVTW Charlottesville, WVTR Marion, WISC FM Wise, WQIQ Spotsylvania, WIQR Lexington, WEHC.
The 2 p.m. session of Roanoke City Council for July 1, 2024 is hereby called to order, and I will ask our clerk, deputy clerk, Ms. C.C. Webb, to please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Cobb. Ms. White Boyd.
Here.
Mr. Vollison.
Here.
Ms. Moon Reynolds.
Here.
Ms. Sanchez Jones.
Here.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Here.
And Mayor Lee.
Here, and the quorum is present. The invocation today will be delivered by Reverend Terry Kemp, Children's Pastor and Ministries Director of the Fort Chiswell Church of God. And following the invocation, I will lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, thank you. And Reverend Terry, please stand and join Reverend Kim.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we thank you for this day, for your abundant goodness bestowed upon each of us. We thank you for the opportunity to serve this city and this community with the talent and abilities you've blessed each of us with. May we always put forth our best effort for the benefit of this community and for your glory. We ask your blessing on each member of this council and all of our city leaders in their responsibilities to represent all citizens of this city in a professional and unbiased manner. We pray for wisdom and vision in our endeavors. Let us acknowledge the importance of each viewpoint shared today and partner together for a united pursuit of achievement. We pray for your divine intervention for decisions made in this chamber today and in the days to come. Almighty God, we earnestly pray for you to keep your protective hand over the citizens of our city and adjoining communities. Inspire us to even greater accomplishments as the city of Roanoke continues to be a leading example of civic progress and partnership. May each of us approach our daily responsibilities with integrity and a desire for excellence to benefit the citizens of this great city. We also thank you for our nation's celebration of independence this week as a world leader in freedom and liberty. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and welcome everybody to our second session of today. The first order of business this afternoon will be a certification of our closed meeting, and I'm going to ask Councilwoman Trish Whiteboard to offer that motion.
I move with respect to any closed meeting just concluded that each member of City Council in attendance certify to the best of his or her knowledge that only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and two, only such public business matters as were identified in any motion by which any closed meeting was convened, were heard, discussed, or considered by members of council in attendance.
Thank you. Is there a second? All right. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Whiteboyd?
Aye.
Mr. Vollison?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Mayor Lee?
Aye. And thank you. All right, the announcements, we're going to recognize you later on, won't we, Ms.
Yes.
Moon Reynolds?
Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
All right, the announcements are follows for our city. The Council of the City of Roanoke is seeking application for various vacancies on council-appointed authorities, boards, commissions, and committees. And this is an easy process. All you need to do is access the city's website at www.roanokeva.gov to complete an online application. And you can also call the clerk's office, and they will walk you through that. But we as a council always want our citizens to become a part of these commissions and boards because it's important for the work that we do, and we want you to help us to govern this 8-time All-American city. And so we encourage you to step forward if you want to serve on a number of boards and commissions, and we have a number of them, if you would, just give your name to the clerk and they'll help you fill out an application. Very simple process. So we look forward to seeing your name as we go down the line. All right, we're going to now go down to, well, let me, first of all, this may be some of y'all's first meeting. Council Member Bad Fitzpatrick Jr. is with us. Today is his first meeting. and we're delighted to have him with us. Bev brings a tremendous amount of experience, and so Mr. Beverly Fitzpatrick Jr.
Thank you, Mayor.
Is now with us.
It's a real pleasure to be here.
All right, presentations and acknowledgement, a presentation of the art mural from the Humble Bee Art Group. And I'm going to call on Jane McCadden for a presentation, and she will present artwork and a group of students known as the Humble Bees.
Y'all come on up here, Humble Bees.
Come on.
Come on home. Okay, not going to have that visual. So this mural at the back of the room, and I do hope you'll take the time to take a look at it. We asked these kids, over 200 kids actually in Northwest Roanoke, what would make their neighborhood safer, more fun, and cooler. And this mural is all their ideas come together. The Humble Bees did all the artwork on it, and I am so proud of them. The entire sketch was made from their individual sketches, and they just knocked it out of the park. I've just got a short thing to read. This painting was created by 15 students from the Humble Bees Youth Program, ages 4 to 15. The painting was facilitated by myself with support from Sharon Robinson of the Humble Bees and Darlene Lewis of the Hope Center. Northwest Roanoke is an urban heat island due to years of redlining, disinvestment, and being underserved. The work of this mural was elevating asset-based love of place through the arts. It was about inviting our youth to amplify their joy about where they live and to dream about the future they want to see. The oak was chosen because it is the strongest tree. The children's work includes a tree being who sings the earth a rainbow song. The tree has golden acorns that one can eat to receive peace, love, and kindness. The legendary Sankofa bird that moves into the future but remembers the past is a beloved symbol in our community. Here the birds reach back for their golden eggs. The very youngest had the idea to make Turtle Island on the earth. After visiting City Hall, it will live in the new Hope Center in their new building. So the Singing Tree Mural Project is an invitation for the whole world to make a painting together to envision peace and beloved community. The Roanoke Singing Tree of Northwest Resilience is the 135th tree in a forest made in 52 different countries. So, ladies and gentlemen, your future city planners, the Humble Bees.
I guess that's it. All right, thank you all. Thank you. Especially young people. And we used to be, I don't know, we're a bee city.
We still are. We still are.
Okay. I remember the group we had meeting outside early in the spring. So thank you, and thank all the young students that are here today, and we really appreciate that. All right, the next item on our agenda has been withdrawn. We were scheduled to have a member of council, Ms. Vivian Sanchez Jones, to talk about her official trip to the sister city, St. Louis, France, from May 31st to June 7th, but she's going to wait until a later date to make her presentation.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. And she'll have some artifacts to present to us from her trip to St. Louis. All right, now we're down to item number 3, which is a hearing of citizens upon public matters. City Council sets this time as a priority for citizens to be heard. Now, all matters will be referred to the city manager for a response, a recommendation, or report to council as she may deem appropriate. All right, so Right now, I'm going to ask Deputy Clerk, are there any citizens signed to speak up?
Yes, we have 8 citizens.
All right, call them in the order that they signed up, please.
Brian McConnell, Thomas Lee Smith, Nick Hagan, Warren Fry, Dwayne Howard, Mary Frazier, Keely Meadows, and Siama Manzoor.
Okay,
Mr. McConnell, you begin.
thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, council members. Welcome to Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Thank you.
Interim City Manager Dr. Patton. In part, what I'd like to, and I'm going to try and make this very, very quick. I addressed council two weeks ago, basically expressing my concerns for leadership, how well the council is functioning, communicating, interrelating, not only with members of the council, between council members, but also the citizenry and individuals like myself. One of the, kind of interestingly to me, one of the items I touched upon was this agenda item, number 3, and as Mayor Lee just reiterated, all matters, I'm quoting here, all matters will be referred to the city manager for response, recommendation, or report to council. Mayor Lee innovated there a little bit as he may deem appropriate, so we can make that correction. And then later on, 2 weeks ago in that session, Dr. Patton, I believe kind of informally, but under agenda item number 7 in her report, indicated verbally that she intended to make response. She mentioned, I believe, that she had addresses for those like myself that speak. I'd just like to say, I mean, it's one of those things, maybe I haven't received the response, maybe there's a change of heart or mind along those lines, but it's just a point that in terms of how well city council is functioning, I don't necessarily think it entails issues of integrity, but clarity and communication are important. Similarly, and those things kind of go on for me on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis. You were also addressed by Jonathan Pate, who's the branch executive of the YMCA Virginia's Blue Ridge. Mr. Pate had addressed council and had 10 minutes to present his Beacon program, and that's a program, and again, Dr. Payton commented on that later in the same session. So I can wait 2 weeks or finish.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Finish up.
So Mr. Pate's presentation was really of interest to me, deeply interesting to me because of my background. And I subsequently contacted him, or attempted to contact him by email the following Monday, included a curriculum vitae to him, and then didn't hear anything back over the next few days, made a phone call, I had all of his contact information, later in the week and spoke with an assistant, and still haven't heard anything back from him. I'm so interested because as a 501c6 organization, the YMCA is essentially a C6 not-for-profit organization that has such a passion for virtually doing the same work what I'm calling for and my message is one of collaboration. Because competition, quite frankly, where it's unnecessary or unwarranted, doesn't help the community. And that's basically what I'm where I'm at. But I'm even there as an organization. I too operate under kind of the umbrella of the tenets of a 501c6 non-for-profit. So if we need to compete, bring it on. I'm ready. I love the opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thomas Lee Smith.
I'm here today again because my alleyway is blocked and I can't drive through it. It seems that according to...
Excuse me, Mr. Smith, hold on a minute. Could you all just stay for a few moments? We want to get a picture of you before you go. As soon as Mr. Smith finishes his...
Mr. Smith, we'll get a picture.
Right.
Thank you, Mary. I don't know if they did, maybe I'll dress up.
Thank you. Excuse me, Mr. Smith.
It seems that Mr. David Jennings of your code enforcement informed me that you do not govern the alleyways. So the alleyways are up for grabs for anybody. You can bring 10 people in, put them in, put up a fence, they got a place to live. You could, the ladies want a she shed, put it in the alleyway, put a fence up, they got it. And you can't say nothing about it. These are my problems right now. My neighbor has put a fence up and I can't even use the alley. And I want things changed. And I think y'all ought to do something about it before. You see a lot of shade tree mechanics move to the alleyways or other things like this go on. You need to enforce the rule of not building or putting things in the alleyway and putting the fences on the survey lines. That's what I'm asking. Is that too much?
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Smith, where do you live and where is the alleyway?
I live 1120 Ferdinand Avenue Southwest.
1120?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, we'll refer that to city manager who will follow up on that.
That'll be the second time.
All right. Okay. Can the Humble Bee students come back up?
Yeah, just come up front. We want to just get a picture with council, all that hard work that you did, and that's a beautiful mural. So if we could just get you to come stand in front of us and we'll get a picture real quick.
Mayor, while the kids come up, could I ask Ms. McCadden a question, Mayor?
Pardon me?
Ms. McCadden, could I address Ms. McCadden?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Rowland.
Ms. McCadden, where will the mural be displayed?
The Hope Center.
Hope Center.
And they're in the process of moving to a new building at the end of that same block on 11th Street. It will be there.
Thank you.
Miss O'Brien, will you get the picture for us? Thank you. Yeah, come on up here in front of council. We're so proud of you, and you look so nice.
Get in this picture.
Yeah, get in this picture with us.
We're glad
Thank
you're
you.
here.
Yeah, we're so glad you're here. Yes, so, looks so nice. Oh, are we in?
balanced?
Oh, are we, oh, okay.
Are we balanced?
Yeah, there we go.
Would you switch places with her?
Me?
No.
So the shorty could be seen.
Yeah. I couldn't see Councilmember Sanchez Jones. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Thank you.
Very good.
And nice job. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, our next speaker.
Nick Hagan.
All right. Mayor Lee, members of council,
Also, welcome, Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Thank you.
My name's Nick Hagan. Among other things, I am one of the candidates running for Roanoke City Council. I bring this fact up not to make a campaign speech or engage in, honestly, political theater, but rather to speak on the increase in council member pay, as I am one of the 12 known people in Roanoke City that this change could impact directly. I strongly oppose this push to increase council's salaries. The reason is why is that this is being done without a public hearing. I understand that there is no legal requirement to do so, but it's being done at the 11th hour and without as much coverage as it deserves. I've heard arguments that this increase will help compensate the immense work that council does and make sure that individual council members are not beholden to other means of income. I'll be blunt. Our system of government in Virginia is based on the idea of citizen politicians, ones which hold other positions during their time of service to better represent people. This has an impact of creating diversity of perspectives and professions, which elected officials draw from when governing. Implementing the maximum pay does have the potential to create local career politicians and potentially creates more of a disconnect between our elected officials and the public. For context, if this is implemented, the only non-constitutional elected offices in Virginia that would see higher pay are governor, attorney general, and any larger population member of councils that have larger populations that implement the max amount. Ultimately, many people have asked me, well, Nick, you're running. If you win, won't you get the double they pay amount? Why are you arguing against your own interest? I believe, like I presume many of you all do, that public service is a service. That, we are working, there's something that calls us towards making Roanoke better and serve our population. For me, that's the reason why I'm okay with potentially not getting paid as much. However, we must recognize that many in our community feel like council is not listening or engaging as they should. An increase in pay when there's little trust in public's eyes, when the city has decided to change the formula for school funding, and when there are many people who are unable to attend either this meeting or Fridays on this prior to vote, it does little to inspire trust in our government. In conclusion, ideally, I hope that you all will vote this increase down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Warren Fry.
Thank you, Council and Mayor Lee, for the opportunity to speak. I'm here to talk about the City Council moving for a ceasefire resolution in Gaza. I've lived in Roanoke for 13 years. Since that time, I've really fallen in love with this city's passion for creativity, fellowship, and out-of-the-box thinking. One aspect of Roanoke that I'm very proud of is our strong tradition of fostering international relationships. We open our doors to foreign families very widely, no matter their country of origin. And Roanoke boasts a higher number of immigrant families than most cities in Virginia. Our local Colors Festival just celebrated its 33rd year of lived multinationalism and peace-centered cultural exchange. Our participation in the Sister Cities program, which, to quote Eisenhower, champions peace and prosperity by fostering bonds among people from different communities around the world, is a jewel of global advocacy for nonviolence and anti-xenophobia. I believe it is for these reasons that Roanoke City Council should call for an immediate, permanent, and equitable ceasefire in Gaza now. This is because cities in Gaza are being killed. Their families, their businesses, their records, their histories are being murdered. It is vital that Roanoke City pass a ceasefire resolution now, right now. I mean, why not? What is there to fear? Are we not as anti-xenophobic as we think we are? Are there not cities in Gaza that would be good sister cities? Let's take a city like Beit Hanun. Would Beit Hanun have been a wonderful sister city? Yeah, maybe a little rustic by our standards, about 1/3 our size, not on a rail line, but Beit Hanun was once surrounded by gardens. Similar to Roanoke, it was a hard-working city since the 19th century, when, as one visitor noted, all were busy with the wheat harvest. The reapers were in the fields. Donkeys and camels were moving homeward with their high loads of sheaves. And Beit Hanun prospered, just like our Magic City. Its population grew. It began growing citrus and bananas, cultivating a bountiful array of cereals. Its agriculture was so strong that schools were built to study the subject there. You may be wondering why I'm using the past tense when I refer to Beit Hanun. That is because Beit Hanun no longer exists. Its buildings and its people have been obliterated. Its shops, schools, and homes demolished. May I continue?
Yes,
only a little
go
bit.
ahead.
Many of its families murdered in cold blood by bombs. All others displaced. A city not unlike ours has been scraped out of reality. And this process is happening in every city in Gaza. It's up to cities of good conscience who are staunchly anti-xenophobic to call for peace. How can Roanoke look the other way as cities like Beit Hanun are murdered? As deeply as I can, as strongly as I can, I urge City Council to call for an immediate, lasting, and equitable ceasefire in Gaza. It is vitally necessary for cities like Roanoke to follow Charlottesville and Harrisburg's example and staunchly advocate for the protection of cities like Beit Hanun and an end to the hostilities in Gaza. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dwayne Howard.
Mayor, as you know, before my time starts, there was a lot of confusion that we thought we were going to be able to speak on the pay raise under item 9.1, and we were just told that, you know, we could not do that. So we have to speak on it at this time.
Okay.
Good afternoon to council members. Welcome, Bev Fitzpatrick. Great to see you back on council. I agree 100% with what Mr. Hagan had to say before you. Not only do I agree, I can assure you that a great many of the citizens of Roanoke would agree with that because of just simply the way it has popped up. The general public hasn't a clue that this is being done. After your Friday morning hearing, I was down on the market Saturday morning, as I very often am. I meet tourists because I take my little dog down there. I meet people from out of town, and I talk to a lot of the business owners down there. And I've been talking to you all for 30 years since I've been back in Roanoke. And I honestly believe this is one of the most egregious things that has ever come before this city council. It's just the timing of it is inappropriate. It's not right. There should be publicity that it's going to come before council, that the public can come, and then you hold a meeting just like today at 2 o'clock. How can the public come to a meeting? They're working people, and these are the people that are most affected, that the low-income people. Many people don't make what the future mayor would make, $47,000 a year. My God, when I ran for mayor in 2000, I was willing to give back half of my salary if I got elected. It's a public service job, not one that should be an occupational job. And I commend you all, and I appreciate each and every one of you for the work and the time. I know your time is given so much more to this city than the amount of time that you put in, and it's greatly appreciated. I beg you on behalf of the citizens of Roanoke, please do not pass this pay raise. Let it come before the public in a fair and a just way. Thank you very much.
Mary Frazier.
Good afternoon and kind wishes to the members of Roanoke City Council. Welcome, Mr. Fitzpatrick. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your service, Interim City Manager. I would like to start by inviting you all to two upcoming docu-series events on Thursdays, July 11th and July 25th at 6 p.m. in the main library branch. These docu-series are open to the public and meant to be an opportunity for the Roanoke community to connect with others and to learn more about the context of what is happening now in Palestine and Israel. I'm here again today to ask you all to urgently add a ceasefire resolution to the City Council meeting agenda and vote to pass it. As a reminder, members of Roanoke have been urging you to take this action for at least 3 months now after the passing of similar ceasefire resolutions by Harrisonburg and Charlottesville, Virginia. The only clear reason I have personally received about why the council has not done this is, from one member, they thought it was inappropriate for the city to involve itself in an international matter. And if this is true, I would like to remind us all that in March 2022, the Roanoke City Council voted yes on a resolution to support Ukraine, thank goodness. And this was less than 1 month after Russia's invasion. It has now been 9 months, over half a year since October 7th. Why have we all waited this long to take a stand against the unbearably horrific violence against human life in Gaza? Why haven't we expressed support for our Palestinian neighbors here in Roanoke and abroad by calling for a ceasefire? Why are our Palestinian neighbors treated differently than our Ukrainian neighbors? A new UN report said that every day, 10 Palestinian children lose at least one of their legs due to Israel's attacks on Gaza. This is over 2,000 children since October. And this doesn't include the children who have lost other limbs, such as their arms. Another report said 9 out of 10 people go hungry every day in Gaza right now. How can we be silent when our country provides billions of our American tax dollars to fund what experts are saying is a genocide? How many more innocent people will be bombed, shot, starved, orphaned, forcibly displaced, taken away, tortured, traumatized, and killed until we do the bare minimum by calling for a stop to this harrowing violence? I believe that this council, that all of you have the opportunity, the capacity to make a difference here. By passing a ceasefire resolution, you will not only add pressure to our national and international leaders, but you will also show Palestinian neighbors that our city will not be silent about putting a stop to the genocide of their people. This level of destruction and cruelty cannot be justified, and calling for it to end should not be conditional. Please respond and urgently take action. I appreciate you all, and thank you.
Keely Meadows.
So I'm going to be reading a speech on behalf of somebody else who couldn't come today because they're not feeling well. Good evening, but it's not evening, it's 2 p.m., that's weird. Good afternoon, members of Roanoke City Council. My name is Jordan, and I live 10 minutes away from Roanoke City. I have volunteered for both the Roanoke City and Roanoke County Democratic committees, and in general, have reminded and encouraged people to vote via passing out flyers and stickers of the voting deadlines. I'm here today to implore the council to urgently pass a resolution for a permanent ceasefire because I am horrified by the violence happening in Israel and Palestine, and especially in Gaza. As of Monday, May 20th, which the numbers aren't updated, the Ministry of Health in Gaza reported that at least 35,303 Palestinians have been killed, of which at least 13,000 of them are children. 79,261 Palestinians have been injured, with most, if not all, of the 1.2 million population of Gaza displaced. At least 4,750 people have been injured in the West Bank since October 7th. Despite the horrific statistics, our country still continues to support the State of Israel's genocide of the Palestinian people. On May 14th, UNICEF Regional Director for the Middle East and North Africa, Adel Khador, highlighted that the recent ground operations in Rafah and northern Gaza have heightened concerns about access to clean water and sanitation across Gaza, Quote, in the north, vital wells have suffered great damage, while in Rafah, at least 8 facilities are down, impacting men, women, and children who will likely revert to contaminated water and become seriously ill. When water fails, children suffer the most. In addition to inadequate infrastructure, civilians who are already exhausted, malnourished, and facing numerous traumatic events are now facing increased death, injury, and displacement among the ruins of their communities. This is why I strongly implore you as my local representatives to urgently pass a local resolution for 1, an immediate permanent ceasefire in Israel and Palestine, as well as the stop of U.S. military aid to Israeli forces. 2, the facilitation of prompt and unrestricted delivery of humanitarian aid and assistance into Gaza. And 3, negotiations to release all hostages. The reason I care so much about human rights is because I believe that we should not only talk about diversity and inclusiveness, but also listen to marginalized groups of people that are struggling, that are being oppressed, that are experiencing the worst conditions imaginable, and help them in any way we can. We must do what we can to stop this violence and seek justice and peace for all. We must do much, much more. Thank you.
Siama Manzoor.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, members of council. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Saima. I'm a resident of Roanoke City, and I want to tell you today about my friend, who is a local business owner here in Roanoke and a beloved member of our community. I met my friend in November when I first went into their business, and in conversation asked them, "Where are you from?" And he told me, "I'm from the Gaza Strip." Since then, I've made it a point to go in and check on my friend from time to time and check on his family. Some of the updates that I've received since November: their family home was destroyed along with their family business. There are days on end with power outages where he's not able to talk to his family to get an update on their safety and well-being. Over 30 members of his family were killed in an airstrike. He was able to evacuate one of his sons to Egypt at one point, although his wife, daughter, son-in-law, and 2 grandchildren, ages 2 and 4, along with many of his siblings and extended family and their children, are still in Gaza. They have fled to the south. They have fled from multiple places throughout the conflict. Just last week, I went in to say hello and check on my friend. He told me that the border has been completely obliterated, where no one is able to get out of Gaza anymore. And his hope of evacuating his family is gone. Now it's just a matter of trying to keep them safe within the confines of Gaza. He brought out his phone to show me a picture of a young man, about maybe 23 years old, sitting on a picnic blanket, smiling, looking at the camera. It was his nephew, who was killed 3 days earlier. He was a father, husband, 2 small children. Every day that we do not call for a ceasefire, that we do not have a ceasefire, is a day that this Roanoke resident has to worry about the safety of his family, whether they have enough food to eat, whether they have clean water, and a safe place to sleep at night. And myself, as a resident of Roanoke City, I urge you to please pass an immediate, permanent ceasefire resolution.
That concludes the speakers.
Give me a moment. Let me ask a question. I got the answer. I saw that he sat down and sat down. Okay, we're now down to item number 4, which is the consent agenda. All matters are listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the members of City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussions of the items. If discussion is desired, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. I need a motion for the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Whiteboy.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Mayor Lee?
Aye, and the consent agenda is approved. Thank you. All right, next item, we go to our regular agenda, which is item number 5 is public hearings. We have none today. Item number 6 is petitions and communications. We have none. Item number 7 is reports of city officers and comments of the interim city manager. And at this time, I'm pleased to call on Dr. Patton for any comments that you may have.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of City Council, you received the report back from matters brought before the council at our last meeting, and you received that last week. I will just highlight some of them. Mr. Pratt from the YMC spoke in regard to his programs, presented his programs, and there was some inquiry as to the funding level of which they have received. They received ACT funding from Human Services Program of $5,000 in the 21 CARES Act, funding from online program Virtual Learning Academies $15,000 in FY22, opera funding from nonprofit programs, $10,000, and opera funding for violence interruption, $27,000, which is a total of $57,000 that the YMCA program has received from the city. There was no formal ask from the organization in the 2025 budget, but I will follow up with Mr. Pratt and indicate to him if he's interested in putting forth something for consideration, he can bring it forward for the 25 budget. The next was the son with the victim of violence, and that was Mrs. Campbell. Staff is continuing to communicate with Mrs. Campbell regarding the bullet holes in the countryside estates on Tuckawanna Circle. And we looked at the city's code. The code enforcement is conducting an investigation, and that code section is 304-6, interior wall states, exterior walls shall be free from holes, breaks, and loose or rotting materials, and maintaining weatherproof and properly surface coated where required to prevent deterioration. Code section 304.13.1, glazing states, glazing material shall be maintained free from the cracks and holes. Staff anticipates resolution in the coming weeks, and ongoing communication with Mrs. Campbell will continue, and with the property owners. The youth programs and gun violence prevention efforts, Mrs. Rivera spoke and wanted to get involved more with the kinds of programs that the cities offer. That night, after our last week's council meeting, she was able to attend that meeting. So we will continue to share information with her. We have all the contact information. Shades on playgrounds. I report back to you that to Mrs. Esther and Mrs. Chloe, staff has contacted the speaker, and she's been talking with this particular citizen since February of 2024 regarding, her first ask was to consider a pump track, an eco playscape, and a splash pad, and question the project proposal process on the website. And we provided her with the kinds of information is there. She also has met with staff in person. Staff discussed the project proposal process and answered questions about prioritizing projects. Later, it was decided that she wanted to focus on the shade products, and staff encouraged her to get involved in the upcoming master plan updating, which you all will conduct. And ACM O'Brien also followed with both speakers, but has not received a return call or an email from them. And the last is Lax Plaza Stepping Stones. And that is a matter brought to our attention by Councilwoman White Boyd. The American Disabilities Act, ADA, states that before the laws that were enacted and until substantial renovation occurs, the existing non-accessible paths in our parks can remain until a major renovation of that amenity or that park takes place. With this particular park, of which we have now put the statue in, and it is known as the Mrs. Lax statue, the placement of stepping stones must adhere to the ADA guidelines, and all new construction of any public accessible spaces must meet the current ADA code. The staff is working on gathering estimates on the cost of such renovation, and once those estimates are in, the administration will make a recommendation. Those are the items, each of them, which came before you, council members, and the items that will come before you today will be documented and presented to you and then provided for the public as I have done this afternoon.
Thank you. All right, we now move to items that are recommended for action. And item 7.1A is the Roanoke Regional Fire EMS Training Center agreement with the County of Roanoke and the City of Salem. There's a resolution.
Move the resolution.
Second.
All right, I'll ask Deputy Clerk to please read the title paragraph.
A resolution ratifying and approving the agreement between the City of Roanoke, County of Roanoke, and City of Salem for continuation of the operations at the Roanoke Regional Fire EMS Training Center, and ratifying and authorizing the execution of any required documentation on behalf of the city.
All right, is there any discussion on this? I see our fire chief, Hoback is in, Chief Hoback is in the back. Let me just say, I think it's always a good thing anytime we can do things together regionally with the County of Roanoke and the City of Salem. So thank you, Chief, for your work in that area. And Dr. Patton, thank you. And so if there are no discussion or comments, we'll go ahead and call the roll, Madam Clerk, please.
Ms. White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Mayor Lee?
Aye, and the resolution passes. Thank you. All right, item 7B is the donation of fitness equipment by Planet Fitness Incorporated to the Roanoke Fire and EMS Department. There's a resolution.
Move the resolution. Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, can you please read the title paragraph?
A resolution accepting and expressing appreciation for the donation of fitness equipment from C-Fit6 LLC, doing business as Planet Fitness, to the Roanoke Fire EMS Department, and authorizing the interim city manager to take such further actions and execute all necessary documents as may be necessary to obtain, accept, implement, administer, and use the donation of the fitness equipment by the city fire stations.
All right, any comments by members of council? Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Mayor, I would like a commitment from the chief and the former deputy chief that they commit to use this equipment. Is that in writing?
Well, I think, I don't speak for myself. Some of us, we need to use some of that equipment too. I'll speak for myself on that.
I'm with you.
All right, I'll go right down the line, Mr. Volson, and I'll go to
I would
Ms.
just
Moon.
say we should be thanking Planet Fitness for this new equipment that they're going to be donating. That's very generous of them.
I was going to say the same thing, except I was going to add, can I come and use your equipment? In all seriousness, I too hope that it does state that we will be expressing appreciation that where the council accepts this equipment valued at $150,000, and that the clerk will send forward an attested copy to the Planet Fitness. I just want to also add, please thank them on behalf of the council as well, even though the resolution will say it, but make sure the letter says it as well.
Will do.
Thank you.
All right, is anybody here from Planet Fitness? Okay, well, thank you, thank them. Madam Clerk, I think we're ready to call the roll.
Ms. Whiteboy?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Mayor Lee?
Aye, and the resolution passes. Thank you. Item number C is a request for an encroachment permit for Greater Roanoke Transit Company, which is Valley Metro GRTC bus shelter located at Orange Avenue, WB at King Street in the right-of-way adjacent to property located at 3348 Orange Avenue Northeast, approximately 268 feet west of King Street. There's an ordinance.
Move the ordinance.
That was all three of us. Just pick one.
Is there a second?
We're getting it second.
Okay.
We're getting it done.
Madam Clerk, can you
Sir,
please?
I just want to say something. It has only taken 20 years to get a bus shelter there. I used to ride the bus back in 2022.
All right, well, thank you. We're going to give you a chance to discuss that even more when we move down here, okay? At this time, Madam Clerk, can you read the title paragraph?
An ordinance allowing a bus shelter encroachment requested by the Greater Roanoke Transit Company doing business as Valley Metro, GRTC, into the public right-of-way adjacent to properties located at 0 Orange Avenue Northeast, bearing official tax map number 7150101, and 3348 Orange Avenue Northeast, bearing official tax map number 7150113, which bus shelter will be located within the city right-of-way upon certain terms and conditions, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
All right, I do want to recognize Mr. Price and Mr. Parker who are here today. Thank you all for being here. Any discussion by members of council? Councilwoman Sanchez Jones, do you have any further comments?
It's about time.
Mayor, I would like to say something.
Okay.
And I concur with Ms. Sanchez Jones. This is really good, but since we have you in the chambers, Mr. Price, is there any way you could come back to us at a later date and time to give us an update on the one at Walmart? That's the one that we are really concerned about, because it's been a very long time, and I know Ms. Price would be very proud of me for keeping it on the table, because it just doesn't seem that it's going to happen, and it's much needed. So maybe you could just get an idea of where we are with that and update us. Thank you.
All right, any other comments? Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Whiteboy?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Mayor Lee?
Aye, and the ordinance passes. Thank you. Item D is an amendment of the city contract for hazardous materials and biohazardous waste. There's a resolution.
Move the resolution.
Second.
All right. Madam Clerk, can you please read the title paragraph?
A resolution authorizing the interim city manager's issuance and execution of a contract amendment to the city's contract with Well, Inc. for additional work for the Hazmat Emergency Response Services update, and authorizing the interim city manager or her designee to take such actions and execute such documents as may be necessary to provide for the implementation, administration, and enforcement of such contract as amended.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or comments by members of council?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
I know we're trying to move this along, but I wanted to thank the manager for providing us with the attachment to show the breakdown with regards to the money that's being spent over the last 2 years. I did notice a discrepancy in the total based on what you gave for the 2023 year was $247,000 versus $240,000. And I would ask for that correction to be made and that this attachment be made part of the record so that they can see the breakdown. I did do a partial math, and I found interesting enough was that in 2023, what I was primarily interested in was the cleanup on the housing encampments. And it's sad to say that we have had to use taxpayers' dollars to clean up on some of them several occasions throughout the years. For 23, we spent $40,000, and for 24, we spent $41,000. So altogether, we've already spent in the last 2 years $81,000 having to clean up those encampments. And I don't know what the answer is for that, but I just think that's something that we need to keep an eye on because of that increase in having to clean up behind those that are using these encampments.
All right. Yes, sir, Dr. Patton.
Mayor and Vice Mayor, members of council, one of the things that was noticed was the title of the contract was for hazmat. And when we looked at it, hazmat, toxic chemicals and da-da-da-da. Well, when we look at the expenditures, they were for cleanup for, vacant lots, da-da-da. So we've changed it to say hazardous materials and biohazardous waste instead of hazmat. Because hazmat would be when we call, I thought the chief was still back there, call the chief, there's been a spill of something dangerous, let's get the hazmat team out. And fire departments across the Commonwealth have hazmat teams that would go out. So we changed that, and we're going to work very closely with Mrs. Trent in regard to oversight of the contracts, because initially this was $20,000, and you can see the expenditures that departments all over were utilizing this particular contract to use money to pay for whatever they were doing. So one of the things we definitely are working on, talk with Mrs. Trent today, is that we just get a handle on the proper contracts and where the money's coming out of.
Yes. Thank you.
All right.
And we'll make that correction to the 47. You see that?
All right, any other discussion by members of council? Madam Clerk, are you ready to call the roll?
91.
Ready to call the roll.
Ms. White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the resolution passes. Thank you. Again, I'm pleased to recognize the interim city manager, Dr. Patton, for any further comments that she may have.
I do not have any further comments at this time, council.
Thank you. Item number 2, City Attorney, 2A is adoption of a resolution establishing a written policy for participation in city council meetings through electronic communication. There's a resolution.
Move the resolution.
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, can you please read the title paragraph?
A resolution establishing a written policy for participation in city council meetings through electronic communication.
Can we, is there anybody who can just explain this so the general public will know what we're saying with this?
Yes, real quickly, if I could call up my colleague Laura Carini to discuss changes in the state code and how this will help council hopefully operate in a little more efficient manner and give a little greater flexibility to not just council, but to all boards and commissions.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. On July 1st, today, a new law is in effect that changed the section of, it's all found in the FOIA code about when you can hold your meetings electronically, or in your case where you can allow remote participation. And one of the changes they made effective today is that you must adopt this policy every year in order to allow remote participation. So you adopted your original policy in 2020. of course, when things needed to be changed. So the policy itself really hasn't changed. I did add a couple of just kind of clarification things just to make sure it meshes with the state code, because it's been amended in very small ways since 2020. There was another change you may hear about, but it doesn't affect this body, because there's other bodies, other public bodies that can meet all virtually, but City Council is not one of those bodies that can do that. And if a public body that can meet completely virtually, they change the number of days that a person is allowed to participate. But those numbers did not change for a City Council. So you still can participate 25% of the time or 2 meetings. So those are the changes. And I added a section that just says that this policy applies to all the boards that you appoint. So Planning Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals, everything like that. Any other questions?
Ms. Moon?
Thank you. One of the questions I do have is, and I just want clarification, that the code also allows the council members to miss up to, I want to say, is it 5 times or 7 times a year?
To completely not attend?
Yes.
I'm not sure what that would be. I think that's in your bylaws or in some other.
I believe it's in the code. I mean, it's in the code.
Okay.
I'm not sure what section, but it does lay out that the council can, you know. And I just want to know, that when you got the 25%, is that in addition to, because you're saying, or which is fewer? So, and also you mentioned personal, that kind of thing, so I'm a little confused. If I'm on vacation and it's a council meeting, that counts toward the 2, or does that count toward the, just being out of council?
Depends, are you participating remotely?
Right, now I'm just asking because
If you're participating remotely, then you aren't absent.
Right, but if I'm absent because I'm on vacation and
Then you're not participating remotely. The 2 count in 2 different ways.
I just want to make sure, that's what I'm saying. I just want to be
Exactly.
clear that there are 2 different
Very
things
different,
here.
yes.
Okay.
This is purely electronic
Right,
participation.
that's what I
Yes.
wanted to make sure that it was clear, there was no obscurity there. And the second one is what you just mentioned under number 5 that you added. Any committee, subcommittee, or other council-appointed entity may follow this policy on behalf of its committee, subcommittee, or other council-appointed entity. My question is, will you be offering some kind of orientation for these, is this permanent bodies, or is it subcommittees from ad hoc and otherwise?
Sure, we could have each of those bodies adopt their own policy. We have done that for specific groups already. I think the Gun Violence Prevention Commission has adopted one. I think the EAB has adopted one. I know the Finance Board that I'm a member of has adopted one. So we can go through and make sure that each body that wants to follow this policy does something to specifically just adopt it, and we can do an orientation so they understand, yes.
I think that would be good if you did that, so they would have understanding.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And Ms. Carini, I might add, Ruth in the clerk's office is already working with all of them, so it might be easier for you just to connect with her, and it might simplify your job as well, because she's already reaching out to each and every one of them on similar matters.
Very good, great idea, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, Madam. Yes, ma'am.
Something that came to my mind, as our attorney indicated, today is the first day of July, and there are a lot of rules, regulations, and things that have come down. I'm going to ask council if you would like for city attorney and our team, if necessary, to just look through all of these different laws and rules. And I was listening to some on TV this morning getting to work, the new sign for farm vehicles on the road. It's not the sign like it was. It's got to say the words farm vehicle. So if we could just look, so we'll make sure we're on top of something that may have changed, and we'll come back to the 15th meeting and just make a brief report.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, I think we're ready to call the roll.
Ms. White-Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee?
Aye, and the resolution passes. Thank you. Item number 8 is reports of committees, none. Item number 9.1 is unfinished business, which is an ordinance of number 42960 on second reading, increasing and establishing the annual salaries of the mayor and city council members for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025. And I understand that there's a motion to amend this ordinance, a substitute motion. I mean, a motion to amend that. Is there a motion?
Motion to amend.
Second?
All right,
And if we could articulate, Mr. Mayor, that what amendment is being done, so the public is aware.
all right, what it is a, sure, I get my, okay. Whereas section 15.2-1414.6 Code of Virginia as amended provides that effective July 1, 2024, the annual salaries for mayors in cities with a population between 75,000 and 174,999 may not exceed $47,000, and salaries for city council members in cities within the aforementioned population bracket may not exceed $43,000. Now, therefore, be it ordained, or this annual salaries be it ordained by the council of the city of Roanoke as follows, that the annual salaries of the mayor and city council members shall be increased as follows. For the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2026, to the following amounts: the mayor, $35,000, council members, $33,000. And for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026, and ending June 30th, 2027, to the following amounts: mayor, $40,000, and council members, $38,000. So in essence, this is saying we're not making a motion to take the whole, all that we qualify for. I think we're going to do that in certain intermittent,
And then, Mr. Mayor, the maximum amount occurs in July of 27, up to the 47 and 43,000.
say that in what?
Second page.
Second
okay.
page.
For the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2027, and ending June 30th, 2028, to the following amounts: mayor, 47, and council members, 43. So in other words, we will not be taking the whole amount that we do qualify for until 2028. So I'm not covered in any of that for y'all looking over at me. I'm not covered in any of that. I'm out of all of this, so this is for my colleagues. So therefore, these annual salaries shall apply for succeeding fiscal years unless subsequently modified by the ordinance duly adopted by council. And the increase in the annual salaries of the mayor and council members as set forth in this ordinance shall be enforced effective on and after July 1, 2025, pursuant to Section 12 of the Charter of the City of Roanoke. The adoption of the ordinance constitutes the second reading of such ordinance by title. All right, so that is the,
And we would need a vote. The first vote is just on the amendment.
all right, I can't, is there a motion? We need to, we just gonna vote on,
Yeah,
we'll
it's
call
been
the roll.
moved and seconded. I think it's time to call the roll.
Ms. Whiteboy?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
No.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
No.
Mayor Lee?
Aye. All right, and so the unfinished business is, that's correct, so,
So that's the amendment. Now we need to move to the actual resolution.
On the amended
To
ordinance,
vote it.
all right.
to adopt the amended ordinance.
All right, Madam Clerk, you need to call the roll on that?
Need a motion on the amended ordinance.
Yes.
I move the amended ordinance.
All right, is there a second?
I could second.
Or is it a second? Okay,
Yeah, good, sir.
all right.
And
Madam Clerk?
that should be open for discussion, Mayor, on that
Oh,
particular
man,
one.
I'm ready to go on it, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just just want to be on the record why.
Discussion.
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to say, based on, I did have read into the record, as you know, the mayor was kind enough to read into the record on Friday, my opposition, and I still stand on that I'm not opposed to the increase. It's just the how we're going about doing that. And as a sitting council member, I just prefer that we still have transparency. I am that person who believes everything should be done in decency and in order, and that has not taken place here. I believe that we should have allowed the public to have input on it. Whether we agree with them or disagree, at least they had an opportunity to be heard. I stand strongly on voices heard, and we have not allowed that. I know in the past, it has been recorded, and we have researched it, that the prior councils have not allowed that, but that doesn't mean it cannot be. And I just believe that we should have allowed the public to have a chance. I know we were trying to meet a deadline that got away, but I still believe another year would not have made a difference in making this effective if we had allowed the public to have had a chance to speak to this. So that's why I did vote no. And I will be voting no on the main motion. Thank you.
Amen. Amen.
Any further comments?
No.
Go ahead. Boss.
I wanted to speak about this. The salary increases that we're looking at, they are set by the state legislature. The last time that those maximums of $23,000 for city council was last changed in 1996. That's the last time that the city councils have been given a pay increase, or the ability to increase. So now we're basically just catching up to inflation. The state legislature has upped us to $43,000, which when you go and put it into a inflation calculator, $23,000 in 1996 equals about 40-some thousand in 2024. And this has been passed by a Democratic legislature, and a Republican governor has signed it as well. So we're not doing anything that's, I think, crazy when it comes to asking for an increase in salary that is back 28 years of inflation. And so I think it's important that we continue to stay up with inflation, because there's also a fact that there are folks that can't afford to run for city council. And that might be they can't fundraise, but it also can be that they're not able to take on the role of city council while also having other jobs. There are a lot of folks that are community leaders that if they're not able to make a certain amount of money, they're not going to be able to run for this position. And I think everybody should have the ability to do that. And I think that this is an equitable change in our salary. I also like the fact that we're now spacing those changes so that we're going up over time, not just one big jump. And also, we have spent a lot of money in the past 3 years updating our employee salaries. We've used almost $20+ million of the city funds to make sure that our employees are paid fairly. And I think that it just goes that we should be able to get paid fairly as well.
And let me just say that it always looked this way, and since I've been here for 20 years, sitting here, having to go through this process, we have to pay ourselves. That's what the odd thing about it. We have to decide that, and that's why people said they're giving themselves that. And in essence, this is the only opportunity that we have to do that. And so I don't think the word transparency, to me, I've been around a lot of things that were a lot more closed than what we're doing right here. And so we're within the code that says us that because of the time we were given, and this happened in April, somehow the ball got dropped here, and we're trying to catch up. And I think that people make commitments here, and as Mr. Bolson stated, that really we're trying we haven't gotten a raise in terms of since in the late 90s that we've had to do that. And so, please, we're saying, try to understand that this is just not something that Roanoke City is doing. This is going statewide. Matter of fact, many cities have already approved that. And if we don't do it at this time, we're not eligible to do it until 2027. 2027, which means that even though I'm not getting any of it, but otherwise, even a couple of colleagues up here, at least 3 possibly, could not be eligible for it until, 3. We won't be, or the council that's sitting won't be eligible to get it until 2027, which means they may not be able to get it because there's no assurances that you'll be in office in 27 because there's another election that will go on. So we're trying to do this up front, and sharing it with you, and this is open to public. And there are some people who came down today to make their voices heard on what they think about it. I've gotten notes, that's fine. So I just don't go with the word transparency because we work so hard to make sure we're open. As a matter of fact, I think we're one of the most transparent councils in the Commonwealth of Virginia because everything we do is on video, even briefings that we have is open to the public. In many circles, that doesn't happen. You don't see that. So, anyway.
I had something I wanted to say, Mayor.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that, I was a little bit surprised on Friday that we were actually taking action on it. I think I may have gotten a little bit confused about that part of the process. And I voted no because I was not prepared to do an increase in salaries of $20,000. So by voting no, it had to have a second reading, which we're doing today. But it also, like the mayor said, gave us an opportunity to process what we were doing, to think about it, and also to receive public comment, which we have. A couple people came up, a lot of people saw it online, it's been in the paper, so at least people are aware of it. And also, I like the fact that it has been amended not to take the entire $20,000, but instead to do it in increments, which for me is a little bit more palatable. So I appreciate the council taking time to do that. There's been a lot of discussion about it on the dais, and so I just want to say thank you, Mr. Mayor, for what you all have done to try to make it easier and a little bit better for our residents and the community. Thank you.
All right.
I think Ms. Sanchez-Jones has her hand up.
May I?
Yeah.
I just want to read something, that way I don't lose track of what I'm saying. So I want the public to know that I'm very frustrated that we were put in the position to vote last minute on the pay raises for the mayor and council members without public comment, especially since the law went into effect last April 8, 2024. I also want the public to understand that this council has allocated millions of dollars for pay raises for our city employees because we recognize the financial challenges that they face. For this fiscal year, an additional 200 employees are scheduled to receive pay raises. While I support pay raises for the mayor and council members, I believe it should be implemented in stages, as it has been done in the past. This approach does not only ensure fiscal responsibility, but also aligns with the original intention of the law, which aims to attract a broader pool of qualified candidates. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, if there are no further comments, be ready to call the roll now, Madam?
Can I make one comment?
Yes, sir.
The mayor and members of council may be upset that I'm here today for my first meeting because of my feelings about this. And I want to thank them for taking the time to create and present a more palatable opportunity for citizens. I'm old-fashioned, and my concern is, to me, whether, regardless of who didn't get it here on time, it does not pass the smell test for me. Having a 93% increase, whether it's 1 year or whether it's 5 years, to me is not what I feel, and this is a personal feeling, about what we do as public servants. I certainly don't have any problem with council getting a small increase. But 93%, regardless of when it comes, bothers me. And my preference would be that when we have an election in November, 3 of us won't be here, and there'll be new folks. And my sense is they should be the ones voting for this instead of us. So I have no ill feeling towards my fellow members of council, but I'm just uncomfortable voting for it the way it is, and I appreciate the opportunity to express myself.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, Madam Clerk, are we ready for the call roll?
Ms. White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
No.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
No.
And Mayor Lee?
Aye. Even though I won't be getting any of it, aye.
You're a real statesman, Mayor.
All right, does that satisfy everything on that?
Satisfies
Finish.
everything. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. All right, next item on our agenda.
Item number 10, walk-on. Resolution closing certain city offices on
Oh,
Friday.
yeah, walk-on is a
My
resolution.
fellow employees would not forgive me if I let you pass this by, Mayor.
You'd be in serious trouble.
I really will be in serious trouble. There's a resolution.
Move the resolution.
All right. Madam Clerk, can you read title paragraph?
A resolution closing certain city offices on Friday, July 5th, 2024, and providing for additional holiday leave to all city employees.
All right, thank you, Dr. Patton, for your work in this area. We appreciate you bringing this forward, and you staying true to your word that there were some things that you're going to do in terms of to let our employees know how much we appreciate them and what they do. So thank you for your work in this category. All right, any discussion by members of council? No. Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Mayor Lee?
Aye. And the resolution passes, so July 5th is off. We're closed. So have a happy holiday season, everybody.
We got some employees in here, and I didn't hear any applause. I'm shocked. No clap, no smiles, no nothing. Where is it? Where is it? Give it up.
We have long memories, folks, long memories.
Just a reminder that the city has our fireworks on Friday, the 5th.
Yep.
Okay.
Starting at, what is it, 9:30?
What is it, 9:30
Should be
now?
9:30.
Yeah, 'cause it's gotta get dark, yeah. Gotta be dark.
All right, item number 11, motions and miscellaneous. Are we there? I'm going back and forth and losing my place. Read that, Madam Clerk. All right, motion and miscellaneous business, inquiries and comments by the mayor and members of the city council. Ms. Moon,
Thank you. I would ask, Mayor, if I could, for an update from the administration on the grant funds that were issued by the Gun Violence Commission. They were issued, I believe, back in late spring, and they were to be spent by June 30th. I think it was like $300 and some thousand. And I just think it would be prudent if the council could hear what has been done with the money, if all of the ones that received it, if they fulfilled their contracts, and if not, what would be the process of getting the money back? And also, at some point, if we could have any of the nonprofits that come and share what they did with the money and how it benefited, the community as a whole, I think that would be a good thing. And last is a briefing another briefing prior to the public hearing that's been called, I think in August, on the zoning reforms. I think there needs to be some clarification. We adopted the measure at the last meeting, but it did not stipulate when the public hearing was going to be held by the planning commission nor by council, and it only came about when it was mentioned in the newspaper. And so I've heard from several people with regard to that. And my concern was, when would citizenry have an opportunity to have citizen input, and what would that look like over the next period of time? So if that could be brought to offer some additional clarification as to the process, I think that would be most helpful.
Well, let me just say, you and Vice Mayor Collins are liaison to the Gun Violence Committee.
Yes.
And I would hope that you all will follow up with them in your meetings. You all meet once a month, don't you?
That's true.
And to make sure that they come back with that information to us as a council.
And that's what I'm saying, and that's where I am. The next meeting will be at the end of this month, and I will bring it back, but I know as council as a whole, we have requested from the dais that reports be brought back to the council to hear. So I'm just speaking on that behalf, that we as a council would like that, and that would go back to the Gun Violence Commission to be able to report back. So if I wasn't clear in that, that is what I am saying. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mayor, can I just ask, Ms. O'Brien, is that, the new guidelines that were set up by, they were just recommendations, right, from the auditor. So are we following those guidelines, or have they been incorporated yet? I guess is what I'm asking, because if they have, then they were, the gun violence, they were supposed to be coming back, I guess the organizations or the groups that receive the grants were supposed to be coming back to us anyway if we are following the recommendations that came from our auditor.
Those were the recommendations made by the auditor. I don't know that all of those recommendations were necessarily ones that were going to be followed through. Now, we can do a presentation or have the commission bring back the grant information or the grant reports to give you a kind of a background on each one of the projects and initiatives. The grant reports are not due until July 15th. So to give staff, to give us opportunity to prepare something, maybe the second meeting in August.
Sometime in August would be good. And I guess what I really would like to see is that we go back and revise the guidelines, because I think we still run into some of the snags that we had ran into before, because the guidelines are still not very clear, not saying that there's any ambiguity, but it's just, I think it just needs to be a lot cleaner so that we can avoid questions about how they spend it, should they have spent it that way, and I don't know, I just think we can do a little bit better, and we haven't done that, and I think the auditor gave some really good recommendations, so I'm not sure which ones you chose to adopt or not adopt, but if we could go back and take another look and see if maybe we need to just go back and revise it based on his recommendations.
Sure. I can take that back to the commission. They adopted that strategic plan that I know they're following through with, and they're also, in my last outreach to the grant recipients, we asked for anecdotal evidence, testimonials from at least a youth or more participants in those efforts, the grants, and so we can bring those forward as well.
Yeah, and I guess Ms. Moon Reynolds, you're on the committee, so maybe you could help, kind of craft something that would you think would be.
I agree. We're glad.
That would work for council. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. O'Brien.
You're welcome.
All right. We're now down to item number 11, which is motions and miscellaneous business. Let me just make a comment on that. Last week, we had the Miss Virginia pageant here in our city, and it went on very well, very well. We had a very spirited group of young ladies that were in our city, and I know I have to show you all this, make sure you get the front cover of the picture of the paper today.
Oh, see that? Where's the camera? Can we get the camera people over here? Zoom in on that.
It's not about this. I just want to tell you about how the pageant itself. It's not about the picture that's on here. Just read about the pageant.
Thank you, Roanoke Times.
Read about the pageant.
The picture helps, right?
But it was good for our city. I think it continues, we hope that it will continue to be here. We lost it for a period of time, and it came back to Roanoke. But I saw so many people there who were not only from Virginia, they were from across the country, because some of the contestants had parents and family members that came, and they just were amazed at how clean the city was, and they had a lot of positive comments. So it gives us an opportunity to showcase our city, and I think it went very well. So I just wanted to report that to council, let you know, I think overall, and they mentioned that it's probably one of the better pageants they had this year, but I think we ought to have more, I'd like to see more attendance there at the Berglund Center, All right, any other items anybody wants to discuss? Okay, we'll go down now to vacancies on certain authorities, boards, and commissions and committees appointed by council. And I've asked Councilwoman Moon Reynolds to really share with us the vacancies that we have, vacancies on certain authorities, boards, commissions, and committees appointed by council. And she's going to discuss the appointments and reappointments. And after that, our clerk will call the roll, and if you're in agreement to the appointments and reappointments, please let it be known by saying voting all nominees once you call. So, Madam Moon Reynolds, please.
Thank you.
Share with us that.
The first one we have is for the Fair Housing Board. We have placed in nomination Shanita Bucara, and she will fill the unexpired term of office for Jesse Kaufman, whose term will end on March 31, 2025. Then we have on the Roanoke Public Library Board, Councilmember Fitzpatrick would like to place in nomination Boyd Johnson, who will fill the unexpired term of office for Aurelis Quintana, thank you. And that term will end on June 30th, 2026. We also have reappointments on the BZA. That one has not been filled, I beg your pardon. Board of Trustees, City of Roanoke Pension Plan. We have placed in nomination Andy Foley. He will take the two-year term, which is a seat alternated between police and fire, for a two-year term beginning July 1st and ending on June 30th for the Board of Trustees, City of Roanoke Pension Plan. On the Gun Violence Prevention Commission, Najir Jackson is being placed in nomination in the absence of Vice Mayor Cobb. It is a new seat created for the board. It's a youth representative who is a non-voting, and he will start his term for 3 years with the term ending March 18, 2027. We have on the Mill Mountain Advisory Board another nomination being placed by the Vice Mayor, and that nomination will be Kimberly Madison, and she will fill the term for Terry McGuire, which will begin on July 1, 2024, for 3 years ending June 30th, 2027. Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, again, in the absence of Vice Mayor Cobb, Tim Strawn, who will begin the term that was vacated by Terry McGuire, beginning July 1, 2024, and ending March 31st, 2027. Personnel and Employment Practices Commission, nomination by Councilmember White Boyd, placing in nomination Paul Underwood to fill the expiration term that was vacated by Makita Turner. This term will begin July 1 and end on June 30th, 2027. Personnel Employment Practices Commission, my nomination for a unexpired term ending June 30th, 2026, vacated by Ian Hahn, will be filled by Luke Pugh. And Roanoke Valley Greenway Commission, nomination by Councilmember Veloson. It is Andrew Graniger. His term will start July 1, and it's a 3-year term for a vacancy from James Rivercon, and it will end on June 30th, 2027. And then we have the appointments for the interim city manager. She will fill the term as ex officio on the Board of Trustees for City of Roanoke Pension Plan. She will also serve the unexpired term of the former City Manager Bob Cowell, ending April 12th, 2025, on the Hotel Roanoke Conference Center Commission, as well as the Western Virginia's Regional Industrial Facility Authority. She will fill the unexpired term of the former city manager, Bob Cowell, which will end February the 3rd, 2028. Mayor, that is all the appointments and reappointments.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, if you would call the roll, and council members, if you would let it be known your position by saying all, vote on all nominees, but it's all nominees.
Ms. Whiteboy,
All nominees.
Mr. Volleson,
All nominees.
Ms. Moon Reynolds,
All nominees.
Ms. Sanchez Jones,
All nominees.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
All nominees.
and Mayor Lee.
All nominees. Thank you. All right, there being no further business to come before the council council meeting will be declared in recess until Wednesday, July 10th. Is that the date? July 10th at 9:00 a.m. here in the council chamber. All right? Okay, thank you.
Mayor.
If you could just, real quickly, Mayor, if you could also just inform the public to follow, I think it's Bill Bespitz that brought up.
Yeah, the purpose, you need to tell them why we are
Purpose.
recessing to July the 10th, the purpose being.
Being to convene in a closed meeting on a personnel matter.
All right, we'll be in a closed meeting or personnel matter on July 10th at 9:00 a.m.
Won't you visit?
All right,
Amen.
all right. Thank you.